Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 189, titled, How Good Are These Devils? I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief Nick Villano, as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios in North Jersey and South Jersey, all of Jersey, because the Devils are doing so well right now. I'm so happy. The state of the fan right now, Nick, is just, well, let's say at an all-time high right now, I would say.
Listen, I want to stand before Congress. I want to address the Devils Nation. I want to say, it's good to be a New Jersey Devils fan. How about beating the tar off the New York Rangers? Yes, yes, they made it scary early. They made it scary late. But come on. Devils just peppered Igor Shesterkin with 20 shots in the second period. Made him very sad at the end of the game, saying he's ashamed of himself. Making the reigning Vezina winner feel normal, feel like just any other guy. And the Devils line is going up. The Rangers line is going down. It looks like a lot of those graphs that Micah McCarty, Mr. Hockey Math, as Sam likes to call him, it looks like one of his graphs, just kind of like one's going up, one's going down. They meet in between, and whoop. But it's interesting, Sam, because you got Rangers fans calling for their coach to be fired. You got Rangers fans pining over, this team was always a fraud, and they need to trade this guy, and they need to restart, and Lafreniere isn't good, and Kakko is a bust. That sounds familiar. Sounds like what a lot of Devils fans were doing for a while. So I'm not going to do a victory lap because we heard a lot of that for the past couple of years, but it's nice to see that patience has paid off, and in a big way. Because here's the thing, Sam, is nobody expected this. Not a person on this planet expected the Devils to be the best team in the league. Nobody. Not a person. And we thought we were going to get paid off with being competitive on a nightly basis. I thought, if we're Hockey 500 at the end of November, let's call it a major win. Because we're still in this and we're still fighting for everything, and the season still matters come Christmas time. And Sam, how many seasons has it been that come Christmas time, it's just, I'm writing articles about the trade deadline and we're already looking ahead to the NHL draft. Now we're looking at Dom Luszczyszyn's of The Athletic just put out his point predictor. He had the Devils at 115 points. Sammy had us at a 15% chance to win the Stanley Cup. 15!
Wow. That's insane.
It's been 2007 since they had a 15% chance to win the Stanley Cup in the middle of the season? You think about it, even to 2012, that team was still stacked to the gills. But nobody really expected much of them. The Devils were complete underdogs the entire run. And I even in the Eastern Conference Finals, that nobody was giving them a 15% chance to win the Stanley Cup. So I think this Devils team is beyond what anybody would expect. And I'm really excited to have our guest on tonight, Catherine Bogart, who's a reporter and host for the New Jersey Devils themselves. So she has a unique perspective of kind of that direct access to what a lot of them are saying. What maybe we'll get some. Sam, I don't know. Maybe you think we'll get some inside info tonight. Maybe we'll get literally inside info. I'm not gonna do anything to jeopardize anybody, but she's in the locker room. She hears a lot of things.
Let me tell you something.
I just want to get the excitement level.
Let me tell you how excited I am about this interview. Number one, we talked about on the Will Report and on Devils After Dark about the garden invasion of New Jersey Devils fans taking over the building.
Sight.
Igor chants. I mean, I believe in the seventh skater, which is why we do this State of the Fan Address. I have a feeling that gave the Devils the edge on the road. Those Devils fans that were just chanting, "Let's go Devils," and giving them the energy. But Catherine Bogart does this, these episodes, Jersey Life, and I'm watching it. And I'll tell you, the one that I like the most is when they were talking on Jersey Life. They were at Woolman Rink. I guess David Blitzer and Joshua Harris, I guess they took over Woolman Rink in New York City. And they had they practically had a big Devils party in the Rangers' backyard.
Nice.
It was just like Madison Square Garden, where the Devils fans basically turned that into the Prudential Center in the Rangers' territory. It was just like the same thing. And, again, that's one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Yeah. The Igor chant. Like, to get an Igor chant. And I'm not big on the Igor chant because, we heard it with I guess I am big on it because we heard it with Marty for so long, the Marty chants from the Rangers fans for so long. So, what do they say? Turnabout is fair play. But it was just so fun to hear those. Like, the Devils are kicking butt, and they're going to other teams' arenas, albeit close to here, but still. There was times where you couldn't get a ticket in Wells Fargo Arena. You couldn't get a ticket in MSG. You couldn't get a ticket at UBS Arena or, before it, the Coliseum, TD Garden, any of the local ones, whatever. PPG Paints Arenas, Pittsburgh.
All these sponsorships, I don't even know what to call them now.
I want to call it the Igloo so bad, Sam.
Yeah.
I want to call the Pittsburgh Arena the Igloo so freaking bad, but I want to call it the Wachovia Center in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And the Devils are still playing at Continental Airlines Arena as far as I'm concerned. Actually, I'm glad they're not because that thing was
Brendan Byrne. Brendan
Byrne.
I'll tell you.
That one was tiny though, right? Wasn't that like 6,900 seats or something really ridiculous?
What, Brendan Byrne? Brendan Byrne was Continental. Yeah, Brendan Byrne Arena, and then eventually became Continental Airlines Arena, and then it was the Izod Center, and now it's where they filmed soap operas, apparently.
Oh.
That's what I hear.
It's the same area of that weird mall.
Yeah, the American.
What
Dream
was it?
Mall.
Where were they in the 80s? What was that place called?
It was Brendan Byrne Arena. It was Brendan Byrne Arena.
They just changed the name? Oh,
just changed the name. They just slapped, again, it's just like any sponsorship. You just slap a name on it, right?
I feel really stupid right now because I thought it was a different arena. Because I thought it was a different arena.
You know what? Who cares? Winning solves everything. The Devils are on a roll, okay? And our guest is in the Andy Green room, so I'm going to have to get her soon. But why don't you talk to the fans? Because it's a great time to talk to the fans and everybody that's asking, how good are these Devils?
The Devils are really good. I'm just going to go ahead and answer it because they're wildly good. But I'm going to open it up. Imagine Craig Best makes a good point. Imagine if Palat didn't get hurt. This team, that's the thing. This team is a wagon no matter who gets hurt. Bastian got hurt. I think he's out for a while, unfortunately. Bastian has been injured, and it looks like he's going to be out for quite a little bit of time. But we love seeing Mercer and Rango having success. Listen, I think the Devils are in really good shape. And they're going to get Palat. And I believe it was Fitzgerald who said, when they get Palat back, that's going to be their trade deadline acquisition. This is a $6 million forward. It's really exciting that Andre Palat is getting healthy. You don't have to rush him back. The same thing with Mackenzie Blackwood. That was the thing. I wrote about this a couple weeks ago. When Mackenzie Blackwood first got hurt, I said they're going to keep him out until Christmas. He's going to get unwrapped like a present because the Devils they were going to figure it out between Akira Schmid and Nico Dawes, and they did. I thought it was going to be Dawes. It ended up being Schmid. Perfectly fine. Go for it. And Schmid has been phenomenally good. He's off the charts. And Vanacek is good enough that he can play every night, and he's been even better than I expected. So, he's coming in, night out, and the Devils have the kind of schedule that allows you to be a little bit more selective of how you play with these injuries. Think about this. They play the Rangers on Monday. They don't play again until tomorrow. And then I believe they don't play again until Saturday. There's not a lot of back-to-backs in the schedule. There's not a lot of 4 games in a week schedules. And he kind of, you still haven't faced those really tough teams. You face Toronto twice, you face the Islanders, you face the Rangers, you face the Capitals, you face a couple of these tough teams, and then before that you face the Oilers and the Flames on a couple of those Canadian runs. But you don't get Boston until next month, and it's later next month. It's later in December. You get Boston twice. You get Florida twice in December. You get the Rangers again. You get the Islanders again, which is you kind of have to expect. But those really big matchups are few and far between. They seem to happen after the new year really hard. It's good to get those Boston matchups out of the way while we're hot. Hopefully we're still hot when we face Boston, because that's going to be prime time, just edge of your seat, got to watch. And you know what's great is that we're getting all this attention nationally. So people know that you want to watch the Devils, and people are turning us on, and we're getting flexed into nationally televised games, and you love to see that. Don't you love to see that, Sam?
I love the attention, because you know what? We basically annexed Canada, right? That's North Jersey right now, as far as I'm concerned. And then we're going to have South Jersey, like Carolina, all the snowbirds that relocate in Florida. We're going to just take over the entire continent right now.
I'll tell you what, Sam, there's a lot of New Jersey already in Florida. I just moved from Florida. I lived there for 7 years.
Yeah.
There's already a lot of Jersey in Florida.
Yeah, I know that. My parents relocated there. They're like, we're gone. We're going to Disney World. Anyway. Are you all right, Nick?
I'm good.
Is the cat okay? I don't want...
He's being bad.
We are a pet-friendly podcast. We love dogs. We love cats. I've got my fish right over here. Anyway, we can't leave our guest hanging here. Her name is Catherine Bogart, one of my favorites. New Jersey Devils host and reporter. You can find her on Twitter at Catherine Bogart. Her first appearance here. Catherine, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you tonight?
So good. Thanks for having me on, guys. How are you both?
We're doing great. Thanks so much for coming on, Catherine. And we've loved your work so far. It's been, listen, I'm not going to say that your job has been easier this year, but it's definitely been more fun this year, right?
Winning always makes things fun. But I think it was a nice challenge the first couple seasons of my job to learn how to tell storylines that might not have necessarily been at the forefront.
Of course, yeah, of course. And we've been loving your work. We love the creativity that you've gotten into this season. There's a lot more stories being told. There's a lot more creativity in it. So it's a lot of fun. We are going to get to that in a bit, and we kind of want to know everything that's going to be coming from the Devils channel. But I do want to talk about the team itself. I want to talk about what the on-ice product and the hockey. It seems like coming into the season, there was a different feel about this team. Now, there's always those hockey words, but it's kind of true, right? They had a different attitude. They would go down and they would fight themselves back. They wouldn't blow leads. There was just this different attitude. Is that something that is apparent in this team, or, is it just something that we make up in the hockey media?
I think it's apparent. Jack Hughes said it himself. He said, we go into every game expecting that we can win. And I remember his first season was my first season as well. And that wasn't really the case. But now there's just a really cool vibe around the team. Everyone's happy to be there. They're always smiling at practice. Everyone wants to get better. And I think that's been a huge part of it too, right? Like every day these players and coaches come in and they say, we want to be the best that we can be. So what are the little details we can work on to be better? What are the little things we can adjust to make sure that we're actually doing all the things we can? And remember, we're only a quarter of the way through the season, so there's plenty of time to keep improving things and plenty of time for the players to keep even doing better, but it's exciting. And this team really deserves a start. Last season was hard because so many players got injured, and it was just so difficult to see these players who were training all summer and getting ready. And it was just a bad luck year with injuries. And it's nice to see that all the hard work that has been going into this team for the past 2 years is really paying off.
Of course. And it's nice to see from the fans' point of view, and it's nice to write about something positive. It's been a while. Catherine, I've written about this team for more than 5 years. And I have one good season to show for it, so this is definitely exciting. Now, you wrote a preview story a couple days ago before that Washington Capitals game. One thing that really stood out to me is talking about the four lines, and that's something that's been. It seems like it's been a priority of Tom Fitzgerald's, and also I'm assuming of Lindy Ruff's. Get four lines. I don't want a weak line. I don't want a line where the play drops off. And what does this do, knowing that the Devils don't have that weak spot? How does that impact their game plan?
There's a couple different things. First, you don't have to rely on one person or one area of the game to win games. And that's something that I talked to Damon Severson about in Vancouver. And he said, we're not relying on the goaltender to come up with these amazing saves, and that's the only way we could win the game. Now, yes, you're having Vanacek or Schmid come up with amazing saves, but they also have really good defense in front of them. And the forwards are buying into the defensive side of the game. And you have these forwards who are really finding consistency with their lines. So you have the top line that has been outstanding with Tatar, and even when Zetterlund was up there with Hischier as well. But now that they've had these like duos in each line that are staying put, and sometimes they switch one position, there's still that familiarity and consistency that's there. So even if a new winger is brought in, it doesn't upset everything. So we've seen, with injuries that some people have shuffled around, you saw that Zetterlund moved down to be with McLeod and Wood to match more of that physical side from Bastian, while Holtz moved up to more of a skill line, which is fine. But you have 4 great lines that can contribute in different ways. And on the flip side, when you're playing a team, most of the times, they prepare for about 6 forwards that they really need to watch out for. But it's like, who's your enemy in this point? When you have 4 different lines that can score, 4 different lines that can control the puck, 4 different lines that can really be aggressive and forceful or take time away and stay in their offensive zone, that's exhausting for their opponents. And a lot of the players have said that. They said, yeah, we see when teams get exhausted with us in the second or third periods because they're not used to playing a team that has 4 lines. And something that assistant coach Sergei Brelin said that was when they were winning all the Stanley Cups, they often had 4 lines playing the same way. So no matter who was on the ice, the opponent was still going up against a very hard, physical and aggressive team that could score and could use all their energy. So it's so critically important, and people don't necessarily realize the impact of 4 strong lines until they see it going so well. And that's definitely a strength of the Devils.
And you talk about the 4 lines, and it seems like there's like a superstar level player everywhere. There's the Jack Hughes, who's obviously, he's the big gun. He's the guy everybody on NHL Network and TSN and The Athletic are going to talk about. There's Nico Hischier, who Jeff Marek has made a big campaign for him to win the Selke. You got Jesper Bratt, who, with the Brat Pack and the big push he's getting, and the fact that he was the leader in points for a while. You have all these other factors going on with all these superstar players, and then you have the BMW line, who's kind of the energy line, the impact line, as Chico Resch likes to call him. But you wrote about an interesting player. You wrote about Dawson Mercer, who just passed his 100th game, I believe, on Saturday, right?
Last week we talked to him when we were on the road. So he had just passed it on the road. Yeah.
Okay. So it was last week he got to 100. And he hasn't had the points per se, but all his numbers are the same. He looks like he's just as good. What are your thoughts on his performance so far? Like I said, not as many points, but the same analytical performance. So from somebody who's with this team every single day, what are your thoughts on Dawson Mercer's performance?
Well, the good thing about having 4 lines and a lot of players really stepping up with goals, you have Tatar finding the back of the net so many times this season. He sure is having a career best year, is that not every player needs to have these outstanding record scoring numbers. They can contribute in different ways. Something Lindy Ruff talks about a lot is how he thought Boquist and Mercer, when they were on a line together, were really good at eating up time with Sharon Govich. So when they were on the ice, it really wasn't in the possession of the other team, and they weren't necessarily getting the goals. They had chances and they had shots on goal, but they were eating up time, which is so critical, because the longer you can keep them out of it, they might start to fall back. They might start to doubt themselves, and the Devils are the ones controlling the puck. But Mercer's in his 2nd season, so there's still so much time for him to continue to develop. It was great for him to play all 82 games last year. I mean, he was the only player on the Devils roster who was able to do so. And that's a really heavy role for him to come into in his first year. So I wouldn't necessarily expect his 2nd year to be as strong as that one in terms of numbers, but I think he's continuing to grow really well with this franchise. He is one of the most determined players I've ever covered. He's always trying to get better. He has the brightest attitude about it. And there's a lot of compliments he gets from his teammates and from the coaching staff. So even though the numbers might not necessarily be there, that's also not a fault of him. You just have other players who are really stepping up this year offensively. And Mercer is a playmaker on a lot of them. He had that flip pass up last night or 2 nights ago to make sure that there could be a Devils goal there. So he's really making sure he can have some good plays, some good heads up plays as well.
And just kind of following up on that, you talked about him and Boquist. They built a lot of chemistry together, but he's been playing with Hughes. And that third forward on that Hughes line to go with Hughes and Eric Holla, which is something I didn't think I would say before the season, but that's neither here nor there. But the Hughes and Holla line has been looking for that third. They started the season with Palat. He got hurt. They had Holtz on it for just like a spell. They've tried all these different things. It seems like we always end up going back to Mercer. Do you think that's the best role for him? Do you think he makes sense next to Jack Hughes? They're both high motor, incredibly fast, going all the time guys.
Mercer's really interesting because he's one of those players that really can fit anywhere. I bet if you were like, hey, we need you to step up and be on defense tonight, he'd say, yeah, okay, no worries, I got it. Like, he's a very versatile player. And that's what Ruff talks about a lot. We can put him at center when we need to. We can move him off to the wing. It is really hard to be a center in this league, and I don't think that's talked about enough, honestly, especially with young players. It takes 3 or 4 years for them really to understand how to consistently win faceoffs and to understand what you need to read about your opponent. Assistant coach Chris Taylor has done an amazing job with this team. They're in the top 10 for faceoffs this season. Their faceoffs leaders are always in the top 15. That's Nico Hischier, Eric Holla, and also Michael McLeod. So the Devils have figured out this faceoffs thing, which gives Mercer the flexibility. He doesn't need to be the center always. He can be on the wing to someone like Jack Hughes. I think his speed is really complementary to Hughes, and Holla brings a lot of the defensive side and just physical presence as well to that line. I still want to see how it develops more, but the one thing about Mercer is I really do appreciate his flexibility. Because of that, it's a huge advantage for the Devils with no matter how things go with injuries or with lineup changes. And that's something that the Devils, I think, will rely on a lot this year.
So I'm going to ask you a little, not off the cuff question, but I think I need to win an argument. Me and the other Pucks and Pitchforks writers fight about whether faceoffs are important. Now, you mentioned faceoffs there. Simple question. Are faceoffs important?
I truly believe they are. I actually wrote a very long feature and did a very long video last season breaking down the importance of faceoffs. I played lacrosse growing up, and I took a lot of draws myself as a lacrosse player, so I understood the absolute importance of winning that draw. It was critical for our team at times. I remember once we scored 3 goals in 45 seconds, and that was because we won every single one of those draws, got the ball down the field quickly. And it's the same thing with hockey, right? You win the opening faceoff, you're already going down in possession to the offensive zone. You're on the penalty kill, and it's a faceoff. If you get that puck and you send it down the ice, that's 20 to 30 seconds killed off without you exerting any energy. I cannot stress how important faceoffs are, in my opinion. The coaching staff talks about it a lot, too. They always say, the more faceoffs we win, the longer we have the puck, the more in control of the game. And this is a team that likes to play with a high pace. So winning a faceoff allows you to overwhelm the team from the puck drop.
Sam has a question.
Especially on 3-on-3. I mean, puck possession's everything in the overtime system right now in the NHL. If you don't have that possession of the puck, you can't score, you can't win the game, and then you take that chance if it's tied to the shootout. That's really a coin flip at that point. By the way, that's pretty cool you played lacrosse, because I did too back in the day.
I played lacrosse too. That's funny. Lacrosse breeds great people.
Oh yeah, I was a goalie, so I was the outcast. I was a goalie. I was always by myself.
Goalies hated me. I'm sorry. I would hit them too many times with the ball in practice.
But Sam, I believe you have a question from the fans, right?
Yeah, the fans are asking questions on the YouTube Live. We have Felix. Now, we know the answer to this, you and I, Nick, but we want to ask Catherine, what's it like to work with Chico Resch?
Oh, I love Chico Resch. I am very grateful to him and Matt Laughlin as well. They have worked with me on the post-game shows a lot. And right now we had Chris Westcott filling in. Sam Kassam will be on with Chico Resch now moving forward.
Nice.
But Chico has always been one of my biggest supporters, and I am truly humbled by that. I could not love the man more. He pushes me to be better. He's always talking the game with me. If I have a question about something, there's no shame in that. I love to get his input, especially because I love a goalie's point of view. They see the ice so differently than the rest of us, and I always have loved that about Chico. But he is the nicest man. He's always been so supportive. And he also gives me some of his butterscotch candies, which are a secret vice of mine. So Chico will always hand me a handful of those every road trip. So I appreciate him for that too.
Oh, you gotta love that. You gotta love a good butterscotch candy.
Yes.
Last question I have for you, Catherine, and it's a simple one. Maybe it's a loaded one. I don't know. I ask these loaded questions that I think are simple, and then they're like, but I just want, what is the most excited moment? What was the moment you're like, whoa? Like it could either be the turning point of the season, it could be just a moment you're like, we're here, or a moment that just had you jumping out of your seat. What was the moment where you're like, wow, about this team?
That's a really good question. I think I have a couple moments, if you allow me that. One of them was when Andre Palat did sign in free agency. I have followed the Tampa team for a very long time, the Lightning. I have a lot of friends who work for them. I've always been really impressed by Palat because his line mates have always said, we are not who we are without him. He elevates us to a different level. So I was the biggest supporter of that signing. I was so excited to see he signed. He brings a lot of grit, a lot of physicality, a lot of veteran status, and he's just also an amazing human. So I was very happy with that. Another moment, of course, with the win streak, that was outstanding. You never really understand the significance of something until it's over. And for the team to win 13 straight games was absolutely incredible. But 2 games on the win streak were probably my favorite moments of the season so far. And I'm expecting them to be taken over at some other point in the season. But one of them was in Edmonton. I remember we were down and, there was 2 goals that happened in 7 seconds. And at that point of the game, I was already trying to wrap up the game story so it could be posted immediately at the end of the game. So at that point, my lead was a little bit different. And then all of a sudden, against Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers at home, the Devils scored 2 goals in 7 seconds. Bratt's reaction to his goal will forever be in my mind, and it's one of the greatest reactions I've ever seen in my life. He was purely shocked and so happy, and watching that happen, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, because that was my first game in that building, and it's a historic franchise to beat. So for them to beat them in that fashion was outstanding. And then winning in Toronto as well. I've actually spent a lot of time in Toronto. I covered World Juniors with my first job out of college, USA Hockey, and we were in Toronto for about 3.5 weeks. So I was in that building all the time, but never for an NHL game. So not only to be there for an NHL game and then see the Devils win in overtime with that beautiful goal by Sharangovich, that was also a really wow, pinch me moment for me.
I will say, just real quick, that I used to try to do the whole write the article and then get it out the second the game ends, and I deleted one too many articles, and I was like, you know what? There's enough people who do that I don't need to do that anymore. I'm gonna just wait and see what happens, and then start when the game ends. But Sam has one more question, real quick. Sam, what do you got?
The question I have for you, Catherine, I don't know if you even know the answer to this, but you alluded to Palat having an impact in Tampa. Is he having a great impact on this team while recuperating from his surgery? Is he in the locker room? Is he communicating with them through text? Is he giving them advice? How is he doing right now?
I believe he is. I haven't heard anything since Nico talked about it when we were in Vancouver. Before that game, after morning skate, he said something about he was still texting them and he was talking with the team and he was super involved. So from my understanding, yes, he's absolutely been involved this whole time, which wouldn't be surprising to me based off of the character and the person that he is. I know he's also helped Nico a lot with being the captain. Nico's one of the youngest captains in the league, and he had to learn a lot very quickly and during a time when the team wasn't winning. So it was a really hard journey for him. And I don't know if he would ever say that, but that's a lot of things stacked against you to learn very quickly. And I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he will be one of the greatest captains this franchise will ever see. And I think
Wow.
Palat and Brendan Smith were some of the players who, when they came in this year, also gave him some really good advice because they've played for great captains. I mean, Steven Stamkos is one of the greatest captains in the NHL right now. So I think Palat has had a really big impact, and I think everyone's just really excited for him to come back when he does. And I would be surprised if he wasn't in contact with the team.
Yeah, I would be surprised too.
But it's an exciting year. It's been really fun.
Yes, exactly. But Catherine, I want to give you just a couple minutes just to kind of promote. You're doing such great work this season, and you're telling the really cool stories. So I kind of want to give you a chance to kind of talk about some of the things that people have done that our fans can jump on right now, and then maybe promote a couple of things that are going to come up. Maybe tease a couple of things.
I know we have some really cool off-ice features coming out with a player and a member of the staff. I'll say that. Both of them were filmed recently, and those should be really good. One's with me and one's with Amanda Stein. So we have some really good video content coming out. This season, we've been doing a show called Devil's Download from our sponsor PlayUp. And it's a quick social media show. Every episode's under 2 minutes. And it's only on social media channels. So if you're going on the website, you won't see it. But that's been a really fun project for me. I've spent a lot of time interviewing the players and coming up with fun topics that will help us learn more about these players. We did a feature on Vitek Vanacek as one of the episodes, and also Thanksgiving was tied in with that. So you'll see some interesting answers for what dish players reached for at Thanksgiving first. And we have some really cool storylines coming out with that one. Also, just the team coverage has been really fun. I think it's been awesome working for the Devils because the marketing department is so strong, and it's not just content. Every part of marketing has come together to really make a great product. You could see that with the third jersey launch last year, which actually won an NHL award called a Stanley. And nice. The content team has been really pushing the bar to try to provide the stories that we know could be really cool. I do have an article coming out, I believe, this weekend about the World Cup. So you'll get to learn what players are very big into the World Cup. And the World Cup is a big passion of mine. I love watching as many games as possible. I'm very nervous for the USA-Netherlands game, but there'll be some fun features like that throughout the year. And I just want to shout out, though, it's so many people involved and so many people do great jobs. And truly, like, the content team here is second to none. And the social media team has been outstanding. I love the TikTok channel so much. I pretty much go on TikTok twice a day, every day. So love them. The social media voice has been really fun and people have really embraced it. So there's a lot of really great people doing work, and it's just been really fun to collaborate with everyone and come up with great content that shows other sides of the players or shows other storylines that might not be covered by a national media outlet.
Listen, the only thing I know about TikTok is that my wife keeps sending me TikToks, and she just keeps saying, "This is you." So apparently, like, everybody I know about on TikTok is just mimicking things that Italians from New Jersey do. So that's all I know about TikTok. But I'll definitely check out New Jersey Devils TikTok. And everybody who's listening, make sure you check out Catherine Bogart. If you're not following her on Twitter, her handle is right under her face right now. Check her out at Catherine Bogart. She shares most of the stuff that she does. She shares all the stories that she does. She's a phenomenal writer. She's doing great on the pregame shows. So give her a shout. Check her out, and she'll talk to you on Twitter. So, Catherine, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us. We're really enjoying everything that you're doing with the Devils this season. We're really enjoying that we get to talk about a good team for once. And we'll definitely have you on again soon. And we're excited for more Devils hockey.
Thanks, guys. You both are so passionate about the franchise and the team and the fans. So thanks for all the work you do. It was a blast being able to be on the podcast. And thanks to all the fans watching. I appreciate it. And definitely check out the Devils content. We're trying to have the best content out there for you all every single day.
Thanks so much, Catherine. We'll talk to you soon.
Catherine. That is Catherine Bogart of the New Jersey Devils, giving us all the insight, all the inside stuff, everything that they do. Oh, we forgot to invite her to American Whiskey one day.
Yeah, she does a pregame show, Sam. She's busy.
Yeah. Well, I know. But maybe we should do a post-game show and then just invite her out. Anyway. But
listen, next time, if I ever see her, though, I'm going to ask her for a butterscotch candy. No, I'm going to ask Chico. Chico, where's my butterscotch candy?
Just ask Chico.
I never got a butterscotch candy. I will say, though, Sam. I will say this. It was incredible. She talked about the third jersey, right? And the reaction to the third jersey was, we'll be nice and call it mixed. But the marketing of the third jersey, the reaction to the reaction, making the hat, making it fun, like turning the conversation around to even people who didn't like the jersey. Now I like the hat. Now I like what the connotation that comes with it, and and everything that they were doing.
Nick,
yes,
Nick, I'm going to tell you something, and you'd be surprised to hear this from me. The marketing side of it, I never criticized. I just don't like the actual design. Now, with that said, they got people talking, because how much, even though the people that didn't like it are talking, I'm still talking about, did Marty Brodeur really, really, really have a hand in the design? But it kept us talking.
And on top of all that,
name out there. Yep.
On top of all that, Post Malone wears the jersey.
Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly wears the jersey. When they send Brat Pack a jersey, it's the jersey.
Yeah.
They are marketing this so incredibly well. And it makes a lot of sense. Like for example, Sam, I love the reverse retro jersey. I think it's sleek. I think it's sexy.
Yes.
I think it's just perfect. And I bought one. I wore one on last week's podcast. I bought my Hughes jersey finally. And they know they don't need to send that to Post Malone. They don't need to send that to The Rock or Shaquille O'Neal or whoever, is going to wear these jerseys. They are doing so well marketing this jersey. And it was so hard to cover this team, Sam. You do a podcast nearly every day. I write an article nearly every day, and I do a weekly podcast. You do an article about once every week, once every 2 weeks, depending on moon. Well, I mean, between the two, you do a lot of articles when you combine the two. So I think we both have a unique experience because A, this isn't our jobs, our full-time jobs. This is just something we do. And B, we still hold ourselves to a standard that no matter what, there are other podcasts, I'm not going to call them out, but I am going to a little bit, that take breaks. When they don't feel like talking about the Devils, they just don't. We talked about the Devils for 8 months or 9 months. 10 months?
9.5.
It was 10 months.
9.5 months during a pandemic.
9.5 months. They didn't play a game for 9.5 months. And we did a podcast. I think we took 1 week off, right? In that 9.5 months. We found something to talk about. We made this story relevant. We gave people, and it was at a time, and I don't want to overstate what we were doing, but it really was at a time when people needed content. Content drew to a halt because a lot of these studios didn't know what this meant, and they couldn't shoot things. So our little Wednesday podcast, your near daily show with the Woo Report and the Sunday show, the flagship show, all of these shows, doing it every week and having the consistency means something. And I think that happens. You see the guests who come on our show. We have, people who work for the Devils. That's exciting for me to have them come on our show and say that they're excited to talk to us and just as excited as we are to talk to them. Chico is excited to talk to us every time because he likes our passion and things like that. And my point, this wasn't supposed to be patting myself on the back. This was supposed to be patting them on the back, is that they brought that passion to the marketing side every time they lost. The poor person behind the Twitter account had to hear every fan saying this, and that, but they brought that same passion. They were fun. They were funny. They were exciting. They were excitable. They brought that passion to every major marketing idea, every major thing. They got creative themselves. They had video game tournaments. They were off for 8 months, but they, and we criticized Harrison Blitzer at the time. I don't know if you remember this, but we criticized them because, they did the layoff thing and they brought everybody back. And that's the thing that I really like about being a Devils fan is that I feel like it is a, say what you want about the ownership group. And I think we disagree on the ownership group. I do. Because I personally think that if another ownership group bought this, we would be in Kansas City right now. And I understand that people were frustrated, but I do feel like Josh Harris wants to be liked by his fans. And I think there's a motivation in that in which he listens. You know, you have the Buy Black program, which is important. You want people in Newark to respect this franchise. You were the only major franchise in Newark. And how do you do that? You listen to the people you're talking to. You get Legrand Coffee, who, you know, Eric Legrand is a New Jersey hero. And he is a hero for somebody who's going to overcome such a tragic event in his life and turn it into such a positive. And those are the people I want to celebrate. Those are the people I want to lift up. And the Devils are finding all these different ways to celebrate Hispanic heritage, to celebrate African-American heritage, to celebrate LGBTQ heritage, sorry, that's not heritage, but you know what I mean, to celebrate those people, these people that are hockey fans, that are Devils fans, and to get creative with it, to make it exciting, to be a fan of this franchise. And maybe I'm just saying this because we're winning. Maybe I am a little bit higher on the Devils now because we're winning. But Sam, I am as high on this franchise as I may have ever been.
Well, it goes without saying. I mean, I've been extremely critical of HBSC, but because I think they did everything but win up until now. And now that they're winning, it solves everything, really, for me. Because once you win, hey, I like to join in the party and fun. But, you see, here's the difference, Nick. They spent money this year. Previous years, down to the floor. Maybe by design, when you're rebuilding. I get it. You need those premium draft picks. But I didn't think that they expected to be that high for so long with these picks. But look at the benefits right now. What's done in the past is the past. You've got a pipeline, Nick, that still has Luke Hughes, Seamus Casey, Muhammad Dolan, Chase Stillman, that sleeper pick, Josh Philman, Nemeth. Yep. And even I would say Brennan as a goaltender.
Yep.
Nico Dawes.
People like Brennan.
Yeah. So with that said, this could be, if all goes well, a lot has to happen. But this could be a dynasty in the making because they have that pipeline. So when the salary cap... No.
I worry about this, Sam. I worry about this. It's November. It's still November.
Remember, I stuck up for Lindy Ruff. I just took a beating for that guy, and I don't even know him. But I'm telling you.
He took a beating from me. I was like, you can't do this, Sam. You can't do it.
I know. But I'm going to say it right now. When you have a pipeline like that, and if all things go well like they are right now, I mean, just remember, Palat's not even in the lineup. You've got Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Marino, who, by the way, is hurt, Dougie Hamilton. You have all these guys locked up long-term, and you have a pipeline that's just, like, full. The spigot is just, like, ready to be turned on in case needed. If some of these guys leave on free agency. That defense, the goaltending, is the key. I just think that the Devils are in such great position right now to do something really special more than this year. So that's all I'm going to say. But because that pipeline, if they didn't have a pipeline, I think I would be like, could be a one-hit wonder, possibly, for a couple of years.
Or if Jack Hughes wasn't, 21? Or if Nico Hischier wasn't 23?
Yeah.
Or if Jesper Bratt wasn't 23? Like,
yeah.
You're right. I mean, you're right. You're right to think it, definitely.
It could be. And that's why I asked Catherine about Palat. I wasn't sure if she knew or not, but she did make a great point. You gave a supportive cast for Nico Hischier, so he has people that he can talk to, players that teammates to talk to about how. I mean, he basically was slapped on the C when he came back from injury during that shortened pandemic season. Then he had a god-awful injury with the jaw, and then just all sorts of bad luck. And then, of course, you've got Cale Makar doing so well, and was it a mistake? And he heard it all. But right now, I'll tell you, I don't think there's any. Nico Hischier is the right player for the New Jersey Devils.
And I've been saying that. I've been saying that for a while. You know what, Sam? I might write it again. Because I think I've wrote about it twice. I might write it for a third time now that it's a little bit more solidified. Or you could write about it since you brought it up. But because I had this conversation when Elias Pettersson came on the scene and had the out of this world rookie season, the year that Nico kind of fell back to earth after Taylor Hall got the year that Taylor Hall got traded. Nico Hischier just didn't have a good year. And it started with the injury, like you said. Or no, the injury, well, it started with an injury. It wasn't the same injury. You were talking about the season after that. But, you know, he hasn't been able to just get a fully healthy season. He's just had a metric ton of bad luck. And that's why we all kind of puckered up a little bit this season when he started the season hurt. We forget that he missed the first game of the season.
Yeah.
But I did say this, and I'm knocking on all of the wood. But one of my preseason predictions is that Nico Hischier would not miss more than 2 games. And that was when he was hurt.
Yeah.
But I knew that injury wasn't serious. I knew there was a chance he could miss opening night just to be safe. And I got to say, Sam, they're hitting all the right buttons. Keeping Nico out, and he's played phenomenally since then. It made all the sense in the world, and they made the right decision. This coaching staff, I don't know if it's Andrew Burnett. I don't know if it's Ryan McGill. I don't know if it's Sergei Brelin having an impact on Lindy Ruff, or if Lindy Ruff just learned. And I gotta give Lindy Ruff all the credit in the world. I know I've eaten a lot of crow with Lindy Ruff, and I am happy to do that. I am not somebody who doesn't change my opinion. I'm not somebody who can't be convinced. Lindy Ruff is the right guy for this job because he's a guy who's willing to change, but he has the experience to know when to do it. And I don't think he hit all the right buttons in previous seasons. I think he changed a lot, and they were mistakes. Last season was a wash. Last season, Scotty Bowman couldn't do anything with last year's team. You know what I mean? You have Andrew Hammond and John Gillies in that. And no offense to those guys, but Hammond is past his prime. And Gillies, I don't think, is Gillies in the NHL this year? I don't think so. Yeah. So it tells you kind of what you were dealing with. And then you had a way too young Schmid, a way too young Nico Daws, and Nico Daws is your best goalie. And then Mackenzie Blackwood got hurt from the get. What did he miss, like the first 6 weeks of the season, Sam?
Yeah.
Last year, I think it was like something like that.
I mean, Bernier started off the season last year. Yeah, and then
Bernier was good. And then he was done by December. Yeah, and I gotta say, Sam, I haven't heard anybody talk about Bernier since James Nichols kind of dropped that bomb on us that he might just be out. And that's the thing. Here's the thing about the goalie situation is interesting. And I'm glad it got brought up. We haven't seen Blackwood. This is week 4.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be out 3 to 6 weeks, right? This is week 4. We haven't even seen him. You got to think he's going to spend a week practicing, right? And then I'd say he spent another week in Utica on a conditioning stint. Then you bring him back up. So he'd have to be back on the ice tomorrow to hit the timeline. And I don't see it, Sam. You don't even see him in the locker room. You don't, and they do protect these guys. You know, they close the practices and things like that, or they close the facility. I mean, so I don't think you would see him, but like to have no inkling, none. And same goes to Bernier though. Bernier, he just, since we learned that he re-aggravated that injury, we haven't seen a peep from him. And I wouldn't expect to, Sam. I think, unfortunately, Bernier's time with the Devils is done. And I predicted that, one of my boldest predictions is I thought Bernier was going to get into 10 games this year. That ain't happening. I was on the right track, but the re-aggravation of the injury just, I don't, you know what I think might happen, Sam? I think he might play the last game of the year. Let him have one more, and then,
it all depends. Where
maybe
the
let him go
Devils
off to the sunset.
Stand in the, if they're playing for anything, and and let just by that time, and knock on wood, you're talking playoffs. Sometimes the last couple games of the season is a wash because the standings are, everything is in play.
Yeah, and they would have to be, but also you kind of want. Well, it gets a little complicated, but if you can get Bernier into a game, there's no salary cap in the playoffs. So you can have him on the roster or, whatever, adjacent to the roster or whatever. And, I mean, that makes things complicated, but it's definitely like a veteran guy who's played, I think, I'm assuming he's played playoff games. He's been around for a while. And having him in the locker room and then having him as a backup in case something happens to Blackwood or Vanacek. I'm assuming it's Vanacek at this point, but whatever. If something happens to whoever the starter ends up being in the playoffs, it's nice to have a veteran there. You don't have to rely on Schmid to go into a big moment like that or Dawes to go into a big moment like that. You can have Bernier. So if you do get him into that last game or one of the games in March or April, that builds your confidence up a little bit. You remember they did that with Schneider. Remember that in 2018 they got him into that last game and he was terrible. But just getting it in kind of like shook the cobwebs off, and then he was really good in that series against Tampa when Kincaid needed to be pulled. So there's a lot. It's loaded. It's definitely loaded. The goaltender situation for the Devils is loaded, but you know who your starter is. Vitek Vanacek has been a phenom this season. I will give credit where credit is due that the defense is saving him from being peppered with shots, but he faces high-danger shots. The Rangers got high-danger shots in the third period on Monday, and he stopped them. They only scored that one goal. I believe it was on the power play. And the Devils took, 3 penalties in the third period, and the Rangers scored in the third one, right? I don't know if they got another one after that.
Well, they got one on the third.
So. Yeah, but the Devils didn't take another penalty after that, right?
I don't remember.
I don't think so. I think they took, but still, 3 penalties in a period when you're trying to hold on to a lead against the Rangers team that had a lethal power play last year. To see your goalie stand on his head when he needs to is huge. And that's very important for this team. It's very important to know that the guy back there can make up for a mistake. Makes you play different. It makes you a little bit more aggressive. And you see that with the Devils, where I see the team. One of the things that I think made a real impact on this team is I do think McGill has had an incredible impact because the defensemen are making much smarter decisions, and they're playing just out of their mind, obviously. And the addition of Marino definitely helps, but Graves is making smarter decisions. Dougie Hamilton is making smarter decisions. Severson's making smarter decisions. And when Ball is in there, he's making smart decisions, and we might see Ball tomorrow night. I know you alluded to that. John Moreno missed practice today with an upper body injury. No, he didn't go to the dentist. Please stop listening to online rumor mongers. He didn't go to the dentist. He did. He was at the dentist, but that's not the upper body injury, Sam. A root canal is not an upper body injury. I don't know if you know this. If that's the case, I've had a lot of them. Yeah, so we don't know what the status is of him. But I'm okay, Sam, with Ball. You move Severson up one, and then you put Ball with Smith, and you go, I still like that line. Ball has played well.
Yeah, you know what? It's Ball's the ball is in his court.
I knew you were going to do it. I knew it.
I just wanted to just make you cringe with the puns. But yeah, you know what? We've been all waiting for Ball. Even Alexander Holtz getting an opportunity. I mean, these guys they've been watching, and they're it's kind of like I hate to use this as a reference, like a caged animal. They're ready to go. They're sick and tired of sitting on the bench or sitting in the press box. They want to go. They want to show them what they can do.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Competition is good. It's a beautiful thing. And that's where I'm alluding to the pipeline. Next player up. That's
Absolutely.
what I'm talking about.
And they've done
depth.
a really good job of that.
Yeah.
And then we kind of ran out of time with Catherine. We don't want to take too much of people's time, but that was something I really did want to ask, and maybe we'll ask next time just on the podcast. So the fact that, because you kind of alluded to it with the Palat talk, and just kind of, is he still making an impact on the team? But like we talked about that top line, and top line used to have Palat and Holtz with Hughes.
Yeah.
And that was Eric Holla and Dawson Mercer. And sometimes it's Bratt, and sometimes it's Sharangovich. And, sometimes Fabian Zetterlund plays with Igor Hischier, but sometimes he plays with Jesper Boquist, but sometimes he plays on the fourth line to replace Nathan Bastian, or whatever you want to call it. Chico likes to call it the impact line. To have interchangeable parts is the goal of this team for a long time. It's something that you could tell Tom Fitzgerald made a priority in drafting. And I think most of the time, Sam, it's worked. Most of the time, he's really made the right decision when it comes to forwards. I think that was the motivation in the Chase Stillman pick. And that's one that I still don't agree with, although Stillman's having quite the season this season. He had a 4-goal game, I believe.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the first time that Tom Fitzgerald has made us eat crow, right?
Well, you know what? I'm interested to see how Stillman and Mohammedullin turn out. We know Nemitz is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
We already know that.
He's right there.
Luke Hughes is, and you talked about you were the one that talked about the pairing during the draft. When I wanted Logan Cooley. I still want Logan Cooley. But you know what? That's a sexy pairing of the future, Hughes and Nemitz.
Although after I did that, Sam, I wrote an article how I never want to see them paired together.
Oh,
so,
all right.
I think because look at it on paper. You usually think it would make sense to put your two best defensemen together, but it usually doesn't. Most teams don't do it, right? They usually put their best defenseman with a solid defenseman, a reliable defenseman, and then their second best defenseman with kind of a wild card. And the Devils did that with Dougie. They put him with Siegenthaler, your most reliable defenseman. And you put Marino with Graves, who's a wild card, but a really good wild card. Somebody who his boom is scoring a goal in the most ridiculous fashion. And his bust is, maybe he's a little out of position because of it, but Marino more than makes up for it. You know what I mean? Like, the Devils built this defensive core in such a smart way. And I think they did it not only in the team this year, but in the pipeline. Like, think about it, Sam. In 2 years, and contracts would negate this, but let's erase all the contract stuff. You can throw out a 6-person, or even if you want to do 7, you got Luke Hughes, Simone Nemitz, Seamus Casey, Nikita Hoytuk, Kevin Ball, Riley Walsh, Shakir Mohammedullin. I just named you 7 defensemen that are phenomenal prospects and have all of the chances in the world. And I didn't even talk about people who can develop, like Vukojevic and Orlov and Misiul and all these other players, playing all around the world. I think actually I think I might have missed, maybe not Misiul, but either way, they drafted a couple other defensemen this season. They drafted a couple other defensemen last season. There's so many defensemen that could develop that. Oh, and Ethan Edwards he's also playing at Michigan. He could be a down the lineup kind of guy. And that's not including the fact that you have Dougie Hamilton signed for 6 more seasons or 5 more seasons. And you have John Marino signed for 4 more seasons, I believe. Yeah. And you have Siegenthaler signed for 5 more seasons. And, so the Devils are in just phenomenal shape.
Didn't I tell you about that pipeline? That's my reasoning.
Yeah.
Reasoning that if this team can stay healthy and this team, again, stay humble, stay hungry, not get too high, not get too low. That's why they've got character players that they brought in to help Nico, to help Jack. This could be something special in the making that we've never seen before. Just because they are young, they're still young, and you talk about Muhammad Doolin. That defense. I mean, and don't forget one thing. Even if the Devils in the next 2 or 3 years are let's say a top 10 team in the NHL, I have faith in their scouting and their analytics team because they've already proven to us they can pick in the later rounds. It's not just tanking it and getting first-round picks and picking players. No, they've proven that they can get players like a Sharon Govich, supporting cast players. But they got Jesper Bratt in the 6th round. And then we talked about Josh Philman, who Sam Kassan of the Devils, that's his sleeper pick. That's my sleeper pick too. And I'll tell you, again, when you combine all that, the big overhaul, this was a decade's worth of rebuild. Mm-hmm. The future's here, folks. And it's just scratching the surface, which makes it even scarier because with the exception of that Toronto game, they literally went undefeated in November, and they went to Canada twice. Mm-hmm. That's all. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. But I'm going to do a couple plugs, Sam.
Oh, go right ahead.
Guess who's back at Pucks and Pitchforks? Writing an article today.
Let me guess. I don't know. Tyler?
No. Jersey Joe. Back writing for Pucks and Pitchforks.
Whoa, what happened?
He's back. People like me, Sam. They come back. They like me. They need some time off. It's fine. I don't, I always keep the door open. I'm like the guy who ran the telemarketing service in the office. Door is always open. And Jersey Joe came back, wrote his first article. It's a good one. So go check it out at pucksandpitchforks.com. He kind of talks about everything. He had a lot to say. I gave him the platform. Here you go. Here's some paper. Joe, write what you got to write. So go check out his article on pucksandpitchforks.com. And I wrote 2 articles today. One about the Big Z. Sam, is Zetterlund getting enough Calder Trophy love? He's 4th in points among rookies. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
Now, the big problem for him is Stuart Skinner and the other goalie is escaping me. There's another goalie that's Logan Thompson in Vegas. They're just having such phenomenal seasons as rookie goalies. It's going to be hard to really get in there. And Matty Berniers in Seattle is having a really good season as well. But I think that Zetterlund could get some love if Skinner comes back down to earth, maybe for that top 3 spot. It's worth watching. 4th in points among rookies. That's something you probably didn't expect, right?
Didn't expect it. I have a new I've been calling the BMW line the Z Series.
Oh, nice. That's pretty good. I like that.
The ultimate hockey machine.
That's great. Great.
That's
I've seen that commercial 400 times.
Or maybe the ultimate devil's machine. Because they just
I like hockey. Hockey is better.
You like
Stick
hockey?
with hockey?
All right. Hey, you know what? Devil's Marketing. If you need some ideas are free. Go ahead and take it. That'd be awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe I should just let Bill Spalding know, but Z series.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, but I have 2 articles I'm really excited about. Top 25 prospects, Sam. That'll be out on Monday. It needed some time to cook. I didn't like the list that I made last week, so I had to kind of workshop it and kind of make sure everybody was on it. There's too many prospects, and they're all over the place. So I had to make sure, and I had to evaluate what everybody was doing from this past draft. It was but so that's coming out Monday. Saturday, I'm going to do a really fun article where I kind of look at the status of every unrestricted free agent and kind of where they stand, because it's a very interesting season. I kind of did a big article on Tatar and whether he's earned an extension, but I'm going to go down the list. Tatar, Severson, Graves, Miles Wood, who you might not realize is no longer a restricted free agent. Miles Wood is unrestricted. So to kind of look at where they all stand, I haven't decided whether I'm going to put Bratt in there because Bratt is restricted. I might steer clear of that because that feels like it should be its own piece. But, yeah, so that'll be coming out Saturday. And I'll write something for Friday. I just, I got to see what storylines come out of tomorrow.
Wow. Well, I have some ideas that I'm going to write for Pucks and Pitchforks.
Woo! Love to hear it.
Yeah, before I say anything, let me think this thing through. Maybe, what candies does Chico Resch like? I don't know.
We already know. No, and Sam, they liked your stuff last month.
Did they?
They liked.
Did I hit my
they
goal?
Really liked. I got to
hit
double
the goal?
check. I'll. You know what? I'm gonna give it to you because you were so close last time I checked. We're 10,000 views, Sam. How's it feel to have 10,000 views?
Well, I'm going to take it one blog at a time. I'm not going to get ahead of myself.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to get some Gato and chill, and get ready for the next. Blog.
Are we going to steal people's stuff and sell T-shirts like other podcasts? Sorry, never mind. Don't even. Move along.
No. As what Dave Singer says, blog and chill. See, we don't steal other people's podcasts. We steal from our own audience, like Beefalytics. Yeah, we steal everything from them. They give us the ideas, we mention it, and then they're all happy. Yeah,
Just tell Shorts Guy I still want my damn T-shirt.
You know what? You tell them at American Whiskey one of these days.
I will. I'm just gonna pop on. I'm gonna call into the Sunday show.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give A+ analysis and then ask for my T-shirt.
And Shorts Guy's internet feed will just somehow miraculously drop when you ask him.
Yeah, why is he doing the podcast from the Fortress of Solitude? Can't he just find a normal place to do the podcast?
No, well, it's actually Optimum. Optimum, they bought his cable company out, and ever since then, like, I've never seen it before. Like, it is so bad, like really bad, and he's on the waiting list to get fiber at his house, and it may be by next year. It's just a really bad situation. But hey, you know what? We still do the podcast. We don't cry about it and just pout and then not do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Vinny Parisi's coming to New Jersey next week. That's something to look for.
Live.
Live.
He's going to be live.
At
That's
American
exciting.
Whiskey. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to figure all that out. Yeah. So I don't want to take the thunder away from Vinny. So I'll let Vinny have December 9th, but maybe we'll do something else with Vinny in person.
Maybe.
We'll have to figure it all out.
We'll have to figure it out. Well, want to thank all those listening in Game Day Live and Devils After Dark tomorrow as the Devils take on the Nashville Predators at home at The Rock. Go to American Whiskey. You can watch us on the big screen tomorrow. Yeah, and want to also thank Catherine Bogart of the New Jersey Devils giving us her time. Yeah, it was definitely fun. That was a great interview. Got some insight. Follow Catherine at Catherine Bogart on Twitter. Well, dropping the podcast at midnight for your morning commute. And one last thing. It was a record month for the Let's Go Devils podcast. Woo! Record downloads, record views. Can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough. If it wasn't without you, I don't know. I don't know where we'd be. And there were a lot of people that were telling us that we are number one on their playlist in Spotify today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep on playing, keep on downloading, keep on listening. Visit us at American Whiskey, 51 Edison Place, across the street from Prudential Center. Till next time, let's go Devils.